an international affairs journalist, and it's really a pleasure to be here. We're going to be discussing widening the gap between the erosion of democracy and the rise of autocracy. And for anyone who was here at the end of the second panel, you heard them just touching on that. And I think it's because every day, regardless of where you live, it's becoming more apparent that freedom cannot be taken for granted. The idea of democracy is quite literally rule by the people. That's us. You know, it's supposed to be a population who gets to decide what decisions are made through an elected representative government. But democracy can only really exist when there are free and fair, transparent elections, accountability, a pluralistic system of political parties, freedom of expression, an independent judiciary, and respect for human rights. So these democratic values, they're very easy to say. They don't vanish just in an instance. But, you know, as we just heard even last week from the Israeli Supreme Court Justice, he said, quote, "Democracy dies in a series of small steps," end quote. So these steps, what are they? They're like steps of stifling opposition candidates, silencing the media, laws that make it harder for certain types of people to vote, or blatant rigging of voting machines. So again, those things sound like they would be easy to see, right? You know, they sound big. But when a population can't distinguish between what is true or false due to disinformation campaigns, technology that is manipulated, or a justice system that is very slowly weaponized, how can one see the line where democracy ends and autocracy begins? So that is what we're witnessing in many countries around the world right now, a slow eradication of democratic values. And this is in countries once cherished as stalwarts of freedom, like here in the United States, but others that were also seen as democratic once upon a time, like South Africa, India, Israel, and even in countries that are known autocracies like China, Venezuela, and Russia, we're seeing their leaders take more ruthless action and, more worryingly, work more closely together to build and strengthen global undemocratic factions that make it harder for the rest to break through. So we're going to hear from some speakers today from Afghanistan, Nicaragua, Brazil, Belgium, and America, about some of the warning signs that should give us all pause for thought. But equally, we're here today to think about solutions. And, you know, we're not sitting here talking about some planet in outer space. This is our world. And for those of us who do live and work in democracies, what can we do to strengthen them? And how can we shine a light on the injustices that we see in other countries? I really want everyone in here to think about the power that we do have, power to shape the communities in the world that we want to live in, and more importantly, the kind of world that we want to leave to future generations. As Nelson Mandela once said, quote, "Freedom can never be taken for granted. Each generation must safeguard it and extend it," end quote. So it's up to each and every one of us to do our part to make sure that freedom and democracy are rights that we enjoy, we strengthen, and we sustain. So I urge you, as you hear from our speakers today, to really think about the role that you can play, both individually and collectively, to strengthen democracy around the world. With that...